Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognized authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Today we have a cracking episode lined up for you. And I love doing this interview as it was something brand new to me. We all know that the lifeblood to any fitness business is sales. But if I told you you could improve your sales or even your leadership skills or just talking to members through improv, yeah, you're right, you heard me, improv, what would you think? Today's guests, Eric and Mary, are diving into the world of improvisation and how it's transforming sales training, leadership training, and service training. Improv teaches you to think on your feet, build instant rapport, and handle some of those curveball objections, but handle it like a pro. We're going to be talking about how it sharpens your listening skills, boosts your confidence, and helps you connect with clients and your members in a more authentic way. It's going to be packed with insights that you can take straight into the gym or straight into your studio to help you close more deals, more sales, faster, and I love their 90-day challenge that they're going to set up for you at the end of the interview. So stick around and get ready to hear how the unexpected world of improv could be your secret weapon to smashing those sales goals. Now, our new segment on the show, 3 Minutes of Wise Words. Each episode, we feature true expert sharing their insights with us. And today, we have the dynamic duo from the Empower Group, Chris and Marissa.
Hi, my name is Marissa Hoff.
And I'm Chris Stevenson.
And we are the Empower Group. For our contact information, just check the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
The fitness industry is more competitive than it's ever been. Consumers have so many options, and here's the thing. To an average consumer, they don't necessarily know the difference, right? They see treadmills and dumbbells and classes and trainers and pools and amenities, and they don't know why one is better than the other. So how do we differentiate our facility from all the others in the marketplace? I'll tell you exactly how. By taking the time to create an incredible customer experience. When you create a customer experience that's personalized, enjoyable, memorable, people want to come back to you. So how do you do that? Well, it starts by looking at the customer journey. What's the customer journey? It's from the moment somebody's aware of your brand, they contemplate doing business with you, they decide to do business with you, then they participate in your organization, and then hopefully become a raving fan. So that's the journey. So what you need to do is look at that journey, look at all of the touch points, and decide, how do we make sure that 3 things happen in all those touch points? That it's easy, it's effective, and it's enjoyable.
So we're looking at that customer journey and thinking about people finding out from us. We live in a very easy world. We want to make sure that it's very easy to do business with us. Think about some other brands, Starbucks, Amazon. They have one-click purchases that make it easy for consumers to participate. We want to do the same thing every step of the way, whether it's buying a membership online, checking in the front door, signing up for a class. All of those things need to be easy for consumers to do.
And right in conjunction with easy is effective. This is pretty simple. Your stuff needs to work. You've got to have equipment that people can get on and is available. If they want to get in the class, there's space for them. The instructors are good. The trainers are good. Your facility is maintained and it's clean. Basically, any product or service that you offer has to work. It has to meet people's expectations and provide the results that they signed up for. So that's what effective is.
Once you're making it easy and effective, the last piece is making sure it's enjoyable. What does that look like? That means personalizing as much as you can. We make sure that all staff is trained to greet people warmly, to say hello, to know them by name, to build real relationships. People want to be seen, and that's so easy to do. And that's something that makes the experience more enjoyable in every step of the way.
And that's what we do. We look at the customer journey again, just like we shared. How can we make all the touch points easy, effective, and enjoyable? So we have a challenge for you.
Our challenge is for you to think of one thing that you can do in your business today to make it easier for people to do business with you. Secondly, what's something that you can do that will make it more effective? And finally, what's a real strategy behind making it more enjoyable? When you do those three things, you've met our challenge.
And not only have you met our challenge, you're going to increase revenue, retention, and referrals, which leads to a financially successful organization. But more important than that, when you do those three things, you help more people change their lives. And that's the reason we got into this industry to start with. So again, if you have thoughts, ideas, questions, you can contact us. All of that information is in the episode notes on the fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Oh, you two are awesome. Thanks, Chris and Marissa, for sharing. And you can grab all their deets at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Now, after my chat with Eric and Mary, stay tuned for In the Trenches with Alexa. Today, Shania, the Group Fitness Manager from Peak Health and Wellness Centre, is sharing how to boost retention through group fitness and using data in order to do so. She dropped some serious gold dust for you, so make sure you stay listening. All right, time to rip right into learning about improv in sales and service in our businesses. I'm so looking forward to this interview to hear from both Eric and Mary today, because I have absolutely no idea what improv means when it comes to sales training and customer service training in clubs. I can't wait to hear all the content. So first up, let me introduce you to Eric from Selling Wellness. Welcome, Eric. Tell everybody your story in a couple of minutes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, JT, it is so great to be back on the Fitness Business Podcast. This was my favorite interview of, I think you and I had one in late 2022. So I've been in the fitness, wellness, health industry for almost 30 years now. And I love the business more now than I ever have. And I launched my business Selling Wellness a little over 2 years ago. We just crossed over 2 years with the intention of anybody who needs help in this industry, then I'm here to help with your sales strategies, your sales training. Not a digital marketer, but I advise on that as well. And since launching a couple of years ago, I've worked with 27 different brands and over 160, I know, right? Over 160 locations. And it's been amazing. And what I do with my clients is we create easy to implement sales strategies that are effective and really work. In fact, the studios that I work directly one-on-one with, 100% had a growth in revenue within 90 days.
Well, now that's impressive, sir.
Thank you. And it's not me. They do the heavy lifting. I'm just here to, coach along the way.
For those that are interested, yes, Eric was on the show back on show 480. I just looked that up while you were talking then, Eric, and you talked to us then all about how to use the telephone to make calls instead of texting. Gen Zs, take note. So thank you. Great to have you. And you've formed a little partnership with Mary. Mary, welcome. It's great to have you. You are new to our fitness industry to a certain degree. So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Great. Well, it's great to meet you, JT. So my name's Mary D. Michelle, and I teach people improv. And it might sound kind of a strange thing to some people, but let me just start from a quick beginning. I was a high school teacher. I was working and I decided I really wanted to study theater and acting. And I started doing that. And at that point in the mid-90s, people really didn't know much about improv. So it was just something that, because, just in case something goes wrong on set, we need to know how to make it up. So I took an improv class. But in the improv class, they taught us short form comedy, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people, and we formed a group, and we started performing professionally for years, taking the stage, making people laugh, and that was great. But it's not the reason why I've continued to do improv all these other decades. getting on stage, making people laugh, just not the reason I wanted to teach improv to my students, to my coworkers, to people in all kinds of industries over the year, from medical schools and law schools and in mental health, law enforcement. It's not about being on stage and making people laugh. It is. You're performing it. But if you're applying it to get all these amazing benefits out of it, that's why I've continued with them, teaching it, sharing it, and even researching it, even brain research. So I'm really excited to be here today to share more and about those benefits that can transform your life. Because in a nutshell, what improv can give you in moments is the ability to be a much better communicator, much more connected with yourself and others, much more able to handle uncertainty that every day brings.
It's a really interesting perspective you've just brought up, Mary, and it's, I guess, somewhere where I would like to start today is, the relevance of improv in communication. And I think in the world that we now live in, many would say that our communication skills have actually dropped off post-COVID, post the pandemic, and our ability to text and email has increased, but our ability to actually have a conversation with somebody has potentially dropped off. What are your thoughts on that? And therefore, how relevant is improv to improve those skills?
So relevant. And I have thoughts on this because, we're living in a time where we feel like we're wired, we're connected 24/7. We have more connection with the world. And yet, to what extent are we truly connecting? And I think the most obvious way of looking at this is we're all shouting at each other. We're all yelling. We're still humans. We are humans and we are wired for social connection. We need it. And yet this technology, it's giving us this false sense because all we're doing is shouting louder and louder to be heard, to be felt, to be listened to. But we're not listening to anyone. And if we're not listening to anyone, they're not listening to us. And if no one's listening, no one's communicating. If no one's communicating, no one's connected. So technologically, I think we're wired to each other. But neurobiologically, as humans, we're not connecting because we're not listening. And one of the most basic things improv guides us to do is practice listening in every single moment, because there's no way to move forward in improv unless you listen every moment in every interaction.
So what is the one rule improv?
So my background's teaching. And when you're a teacher, you don't have a lot of time and it's all about efficiency. And also I had a really great director. I'm going to give him credit too. And he was trained out of the Groundlings. But when I was trained in improv, it was all about yes and. I mean, he stopped us the most moment we didn't agree with whatever that had been offered to us. And I'll explain that in a second. And I was teaching improv the same way he taught me. And one day I was talking to a CEO and I was like, improv can do this for you. And it does this and it does that. And this is why people are using it in corporations. And he's like, that's great, but what's the process? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, if you can't explain what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. And I was like, process, because I kept saying, there's rules, there's structures, like make your partner look good and yes and go this and go that and blah, blah, blah. And if you look at improv and people have made it their own and it works for them and that's great. And there's lots of different rules, but I never had a lot of time to explain it. And I boiled it down to one rule. And after I talked to that CEO, I sat down and I listed all these benefits that we say improv helps with. Deep listening and communication and empathy and everything. And it all boiled down to yes and, the practice of yes and. So while some people teach the 7 rules of improv or the 11 rules of improv, I teach one. And by doing that one rule, you accomplish those other rules. And when you do that one rule, the yes and, you get all the benefits. So whether you're playing a really complex theatrical improv game or something like we're going to play later here on the show, hopefully, you get all those same benefits. And it's those 2 words that, yes, I unconditionally accept whatever you're giving me. I unconditionally accept your offer, the situation. And I value it so much, I'm going to add my own idea to it. And we're going to move forward. And those 2 words guide every single interaction in every game. I yes and, you accept whatever I say and you build off it, then I accept back and we build off it. And those 2 words, what we discovered from brain research I published, is those 2 words are the access to the brain. And it balances our nervous system. And when you balance the nervous system, you bring the brain online and you get all those benefits, the communication, the ability to deal with uncertainty.
GT, if I can interject, I think, Mary's brilliant, right? She's done an actual research project on the effects of yes and improv, one rule improv on them. So, in the day-to-day, we all come up against conversations called challenging. And along with your challenging conversations comes stress. And it could be you're dealing with a challenging colleague, a challenging customer. It could be asking your kids to clean their room. And what happens is under stress, the flight or fight mechanism in the brain, it turns on and it basically gives us 4 responses: fight, flight, freeze, or please. We either get in an argument and want to be right. We flight, meaning we disconnect. We freeze, which is busy brain, like I don't know what to say. Or we please, which is I'm just going to say whatever the heck JT wants to hear so I can get out of this conversation. And none of them are productive. And through Mary's research, yes, and within about a minute of engaging this tool, the mapping, she actually mapped the human brain under stress and then using yes, and it calmed down the fight or flight, and the creative part of the brain lit up that allows you to communicate with another person.
Yes, and Eric, what I'd like to explore now, do you see what I did there? Hey, I'm listening. No, seriously, yes, and what about our industry? We are a people-to-people business, whether it's someone on the front desk, whether it's a personal trainer, whether it's membership sales, or whether we're in a leadership role where we've got to talk to our team to get them to perform. Across what you've seen over the last couple of years, has our communication skill level dropped in our industry? And is this something that can help us?
100%. I mean, so here's one of the most common concerns, and you probably hear it across the industry, is I can't find good people to work for me, right? People don't get it. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to provide great service. Well, if just like you said, if you think about whether you're in sales, whether you're in service, whether you're in management, or whether you're just working with a coworker, communication is key. And you can teach somebody what to say, right? When your client says, well, I want to go home and think about it. You plug in 1A. Well, what is it that you want to think about, Mr. Smith? You came here because you want to get in shape. But that doesn't work because people can smell that. And what's missing is the connected empathy, is how to handle that conversation in a way where the person feels heard. And all of a sudden, you're their partner, helping them through that. So this really bridges the gap, whether you're in sales, whether you're in service, or whether you're in management.
Can I put you two on the spot? Can I ask you to demonstrate what this might look like in a conversation? And if we could do maybe 2 different demos, one where, to use an analogy, I'm going to teach you to bench press, so we're not going to do any weight. You're just going to get the range of movement right. And then we'll add some weight and see how you go. So can we do one where you guys might just do a basic one and then give us an example that Eric might actually occur in a club?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. We'll do the first one. And when we do the group training, when we first start working in it, it's more of, wax on, wax off, right? Or the basic bench press through games that are easy to play. And, I think it's important to point out, JT, that it's not about arriving at a better answer. When we first started working with managers and owners, they all said, well, if the person's going to cancel, I don't want them to cancel. How do I do that? It's not about that. It's about having a more connected interaction that, one, even if they cancel, both parties leave with a positive interaction where the customer felt heard, they leave you and they might come back. And it opens up the door where there is an opening for the possibility of a different answer. But what's sure is the way that it naturally goes is I want to cancel. Well, why do you want to cancel? And it's the same outcome over and over. Upset member, we're upset about it. So Mary, what game do we want to play?
Well, the most obvious one is to practice the yes and games. They're very simple, the beginning games. And you actually say the yes and explicitly out loud. And games are one of the quickest and most powerful ways to learn. So instead of starting with a conversation, we'll just start with the game, which is going to sound like a conversation. So what we need with Improv, we always take an offer from the audience. So this is how the game works. So JT, what would be a new and improved object, something you use every day that you wish was new and improved?
Oh, what would be something that I wish was new and improved? It would have to be my runners, because I keep my trainers.
Your sneakers.
My sneakers. Yeah, sorry. You guys didn't get the subtitles? Okay, my runners, my trainers, my sneakers, the things I wear on my feet when I go to the gym, I keep wearing them out. Can they last just a little bit longer?
So I'll start and I'll say, hey, Eric, let's design new and improved runners.
Yes. And let's have them with a more durable sole.
Yes. And the sole can adjust for impact on what our weight is and how fast we're running.
Yes. And they'll make me look taller.
Yes. And they'll help us jump higher too when we need to reach something.
Yes. And we get to customize our color on them.
Yes. And it can change with our mood or our speed.
Yes. And they will feel like you're floating on clouds.
Yes. Thank you. There was something in.
Very good. I felt like I was in a scene from Seinfeld then when George had his elevated basketball shoes. Hey, that was great. Like, Mary, the thing that you said when we first started talking about this was just how important the listening was. And listening to you guys do that, I could see how you had to listen to each other and acknowledge yes, and then put another layer on.
And Mary, do you want to share with JT like why that is, what the yes does and the and does? Because I think that's really important to call out.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because people are scared of improv because it looks so scary from the outside. But when you do it and you do it this way, it feels really safe. Okay. So what's happening is that yes, whether we're saying it out loud or we're doing it in another nonverbal way, that yes creates enough safety to help our brain turn back online, to shift back online. Because, as Eric was talking about before, and we were talking about, JT, about we're naturally social creatures. We're wired for connections. Our brains are wired to connect, to help us connect. And when we feel that threat and we go into that fear-based brain, the fight, flight, freeze, or please, we go offline. But yes, creates the positivity to bring the brain to start the different areas of the prefrontal cortex to start lighting up again. But this is what's cool, because as we both all know, for relationships, when someone says yes to you, it could mean nothing. They're not even listening half the time, right? And if you have kids, we've done it all the time. But with improv, it's not yes, it's yes and. And that and instigates just enough uncertainty to make you slow down, be present, be mindful, be in the moment. And what we saw in the brain is when all those little areas of the brain finally light back up, communication between them slows down, which is good because now it becomes more efficient and the different areas of the brain can understand. And we become better equipped to understand that something in front of us isn't a threat at all. And we can pick up on nonverbal cues and verbal cues and body language and micro expressions and meaning. So yes, and of all the rules that you can focus on in improv, yes, and is the one that's going to turn your brain online to relax your nervous system. So you can now be at your best. What some of the earlier brain research 2008 showed that if you're familiar with flow state or being in the zone, like athletes get in the zone and they perform at their best, they feel their best, improv does the same thing. It does. It gets the same part of the brain online, the medial prefrontal cortex. So the part of the brain that is all about judgment. Is this right? Is that right? Am I doing this? What do I look like? Oh, I don't know. When you get locked up, you don't lose judgment when you do improv. It just quiets down. So you just go forward. And so you can see that in that conversation. I'm not judging. He's not judging. We're not judging each other. And we stop judging ourselves. And we have this freedom, the spontaneous freedom you just witnessed, where we create and we move forward no matter what.
Yeah, I got two questions. Number one is people often say it's not what we say, it's how we say it. Is the tone of how we say yes important?
I've actually never quite encountered the tone yet. Not so much because I've never seen that really matter as long as they're truly accepting it. If they're yesing and dismissing it, no, that's a denial and you lose everything.
So therefore your tone really does count, because when Eric was impersonating his wife, where it was, yes, dear, that was not really. So it's got to be an authentic yes.
Yeah, an inauthentic yes could be just a yes without an and. And we call these denials. We're denying each other. We might say no, or yeah, but, or not only that, which is and, but no yes. So I'm taking your idea, but I'm never validating your idea for it. And that's how we communicate mostly.
And my second question is, do I actually have to say yes, or can I be just my non-verbal cues are saying, If you're watching a video, I'm nodding my head and then I just go, and, or is it the actual, you got to say yes and nod your head?
No, you just have to communicate that you've accepted it, a positive acceptance. Oh, I mean, if we were miming something and building something together, not miming, actually building something, it was like, I indicate facially like, oh, it's a great idea. And then I just build on what you just did. We're yes-anding.
And again, you could probably go, and.
Absolutely.
Which adds to that authenticity, because it's how I would speak might not be yes, and it would be, and.
When we do the full workshop, we start out with the basics, actually using the word yes, and. And then there's something called implied yes, and, which is after you get the basic skill using the words yes, and, you start to leave the yes, and off, but you're still communicating.
Here, really quick, Eric and I will demonstrate a game where we're practicing yes, and we're not saying it at all. So I call this game Encyclopedia. We're just going to create one sentence on a topic of your choosing, something you might look up in Wikipedia, nothing religious or political, just something basic. Hey, give us one.
Okay, I want to lose weight.
Weight loss. Great. So we're going to create a sentence, consecutive word sentence, not word association, about weight loss. So go ahead, you start.
Weight loss
Is
the
most
challenging
thing
and
sometimes
so
rewarding
that
most
people
try.
Wow, I like it. You got to listen, haven't you? You got to listen to what you said. Otherwise, that next word doesn't make any sense.
So mostly as humans, for some reason, we listen to respond. So while you're talking, I'm thinking of the next thing I'm going to say, which makes me stop listening to you. But with this moment to moment, I can't think ahead. I can't think about anything. I am anding. I'm hanging on his next word. And what's really wild about this, I'm attuning to him to get my brain online, to feel connected. I'm not focusing on myself. I'm not focusing on my yoga. I'm not focusing on my breathing. I am focusing on the other person. And by focusing on the other person, I come back online. I get grounded and balanced.
All right, let's get on court. You've given us the drills. So let's put this now in a game situation. I'm going to pick one. Eric, you said it before. Somebody's coming in to cancel. Let's do a cancel role play.
I'll challenge you even more, JT. You ready? How about the scenario? I'll give you one better. Not only are you coming in to cancel, but you haven't used your membership in 6 months and, you've been paying for it and you just noticed on your credit card. This is something that I think every one of our listeners relate to. That person comes in and says, holy cow, I've been...
Wait. In this role play, please don't swear, because we know every member will cuss when they come in and you've been billing them for 6 months.
Yeah. And there's the predictable way it goes, right? Which is exactly what you said. And there's the predictable way that our teams handle it, right? Which is, well, I totally understand you're upset, sir. It's our policy. We don't give refunds on memberships. I'll send your information to the manager and they'll give you a call. And then what does the manager do? The manager goes, takes a deep breath, takes a swig of tequila and calls them and is expecting the worst to happen.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear the one rule improv for somebody cancelling who's been billed for the last 6 months because you didn't read my mind that I wanted my membership cancelled.
Yeah, so JT, why don't you be that member coming in?
Eric, I need to cancel my membership, please.
Yes, okay. So you need to cancel your membership. What's going on?
Yeah, I've been in for the last 6 months and you've been billing me. I've had enough. I don't have time. I'm not happy. So can you just please cancel it now? I rang up the other day and they said, you've got to come in and do it. I'm here now. Cancel it.
JT, of course you're upset. You don't want to continue to pay for something that you haven't been using. And we haven't returned your calls, so no wonder you're upset. And we want to make it right.
Well, can you just cancel it?
Well, yes, you want to make sure that your membership gets canceled, and we can absolutely do that for you. And we want to make you happy, okay?
Okay. Damn you.
It's not about the outcome, but you see how there's nothing to argue about?
I know. I was trying. I was like, what else can I say?
Yeah, because you just want to be heard and you want to be understood.
Yes. Unfortunately, sometimes I guess our team feel like a boxing bag, which is not fair and it's not right, but it just happens that way. But I like the way you diffuse that situation with empathy and the word and.
It works, whether it's something like that, whether you're overcoming buying objection, whether, it's a manager having to deal with an underperforming.
Can we do another one about buying objections?
Yeah, whatever you want. We got them all. I can handle them all with yes and.
All right, let's do one about a buying objection. So, Eric, it's probably a bit more than I wanted to spend.
Look, it sounds like you really like the gym and you like the workout, and it's just more than you fit into your budget. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
And we want to make it super easy and comfortable for you to be a member if you really like it here.
I'd love to, but it's just the money thing.
Yeah, I get it, Justin. You like the workout, you want to be a member, and we're here to make it happen for you if that's something that you want.
I want. What can we do?
Well, why don't we work through it?
Okay.
You see how there's an opening rather than let me dive in with I know how to overcome the price objection. Well, what was in your budget? And isn't it worth it to spend an extra $5 a week? You might still end up there, but it's in the interaction how you get there. They're more open to hearing it and partnering with you when you use the yes and. It totally disarms everybody.
Mary, how did Eric go in those two role plays?
He did well. And Eric, I liked your use of disarm because, sometimes it's you as the worker, the employee, that something's happened to you. You had a bad morning. Something's triggered you. Your brain's a bit offline. You're looking at the world as a threat yourself, right? And with that training of having that tool of like, okay, I'm going to have this interaction and I need to connect with this person, this relationship. No matter how crappy I feel in this moment, I am going to use yes and it's going to work on me. But the cool part is you could be in that place, you could be in a great place. And the other person, you have no idea who they are, what their trigger point is, what state of mind they're in. And you can still now impact them to disarm. You felt a bit disarmed in your interaction with Eric, right? Yeah. And that power of yes, and the breeze coming online, you're feeling a real connection. You're feeling a relationship. And, I don't think it's something we normally wake up feeling like we're going to admit, but we all need to feel felt and heard and connected. And I was speaking at a medical school with fifth-year residents, and they were, I think it was the lawyer of the hospital telling a story of a fella that he brought a loved one in. It wasn't good. They had a lot of issues. Unfortunately, they passed away, and he was suing the hospital. And he kept going on until finally someone just said, yes, we did tell you this was going to happen, and it didn't, and we were wrong, and we're sorry about that. And that's all he needed to hear. That was it. He just needed that connection of, oh, you heard me. You felt me for a moment. And he dropped the lawsuit.
I can see how relevant that is in our industry so much, that members just want to be heard, or a prospect just wants to complain or object so then they can go home and say to their wife, well, I got a good deal because I screwed Eric down. But really they didn't. But it's that feeling of being heard. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it's such a nice framework because it's so simple and it can work so quickly, so you don't have to engage in, some long, intimate conversation with a stranger. They can feel pretty connected pretty early on and you can move forward instead of getting stuck into something.
Yes. And Eric, obviously your expertise is in one rule improv as well as selling into clubs. So the easy solution is, where do you start? Well, you contact Eric and he can help you, and we'll put all Eric and Mary's contact details in the episode notes today that you'll find at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. But where would we start if we didn't want to go to you straight away, but we're quite interested in this? What would we do as an owner or as a manager if we want to learn more about this?
Yeah, it's a conversation. If you go to the website, sellingwellnessstrategies.com, there's a page for One Rule Improv Workshop, and there's a contact button. And they click on the contact button, and we'll have a conversation and see if this is something that actually would work for your team. Because we might get together, and you might say, this isn't what I'm looking for. Justin, I that my expertise wasn't in improv. It was in sales training and sales coaching and sales management. And, working with owners and operators, specifically like on overcoming objections, and on the management piece, this was a missing tool. I couldn't figure out how to explain to somebody, this is how you recreate it. This is how you make people feel heard before you go into the next step. And Mary, I met with her for like an hour and I was like, holy cow, this is it. This is like that missing bridge piece. So that's how it ended up in the sales training. But if you go and you click the button, we are happy to talk. I'll have a conversation.
As I said, we'll put all those details into the show notes. Now, at the end of every episode, every interview, we ask our guests to present a 90-day challenge to our FBP community. So they've listened to the show, they've heard the theory, and they've got to turn this theory into practice over a 90-day period. So, Mary, what challenge would you have for everybody listening today over a 90-day period? What do you think they should do?
I would say two things, and they can start right away. One is just starting to be aware of when you're in a conversation or listening to other people. Do people yes and, or do they yes but, or not only that? Because how we respond to each other can dictate how the other person, whether they're going to interact with us or not. And a lot of times we walk away from relationships and have a very negative view. We feel invalidated. We don't like the person and we don't know what's going on. And a lot of times it's because they're using these denial phrases, and mostly it's just a speech habit. How many people do you know respond with not only that to everything? And you walk away feeling invalidated, not liking them, and it's just a pattern of speech. So first thing to do in a 90-day challenge is listen and be aware of yourself. How often do you yes and? And then the second thing is to try it. Try it at work, try it at home, try it wherever, with your family, with a loved one, and just take an inventory of how it feels when you do it. And if you notice any difference from them. And my fair warning, though, is once you discover yes and you become aware of it, you can feel a little lonely as the only person in the group who's actually listening and validating other people. But you'll really become aware of wow, this is something that is so needed. It's so simple, but it's not easy because we don't practice.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, and now you, Eric, what would be your 90-day challenge?
Holy shnikes, it's pretty much the same, because that's where I was going, which was, one, notice with your team and with your interactions, just notice how much you don't yes. Notice how positional you are and how you're like a dog with a bone, right? Somebody says, I need to think about it. And you're like, I'm going to go right into, well, what do you need to think about, JT? If I told you that you could lose 10 pounds by next week, would you need to think about it? And how direct we are without actually responding. And then to Mary's point, try this yes and. Now, we gave you some really basic, thumbnail sketches on it. There's a little bit more to it when you train with us. There's a lot more to it. Even try it simply at home when your significant other says, you left your muddy shoes on. Yes, I left my muddy shoes on, and you're so upset, and see what happens. It is literally magic.
I love those. Great 90-day challenges. Listen and then start to implement into our own language at home before we even get to work. The yes and. Thank you so much. You guys have been awesome. We'll put all your contact details in our show notes. I really appreciate your time, and thank you kindly.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you, JT. It was great being with you again.
The trusted suppliers from Rex Roundtables this episode are Max members, automating member engagement and member management. Les Mills, offering group fitness classes and solutions. eVault 360, providing body composition and analysis technology. American Barbell, getting to you high quality fitness and strength equipment. You can get all their details at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. And today's merch sponsor is Physique Fitness from Oregon. G'day to Landon and Brandon and all the team in Salem, Oregon. Thank you for supplying the merch today for me to wear. And if you'd like me to be your social influencer by wearing your merch on the recording of the Fitness Business Podcast, then simply head to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/merch, and I'm happy to wear your kit.
At Rex Roundtables, we're proud to have over 350 exceptional leaders and business professionals as members from all over the world. From owners to CEOs to general managers and department heads, each one will bring a wealth of experience and insight to their Rex Roundtable. For this episode, we've handpicked one of our members to share a 3-minute golden nugget, which is a proven strategy that's driving success in their business. This is real-world advice from someone in the trenches, just like you. If you're interested in learning more about Rex Roundtables and how it can benefit your business and leadership, reach out to me, Eddie at RexRoundtables.com, or find my contact details at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Hey, my name is Shania. I am the Group Fitness Manager at the Peak Health and Wellness Center located in Great Falls. In today's segment, I'll share how data-driven strategies can boost engagement and retention in your Great Fitness department. If you're looking for contact details, go to thefitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Coming from one of the top boutique gyms where community was tight-knit to a much larger facility where the feel was much different was a bit of a culture shock. When I first took on my Group Fitness Manager role at the Peak, I immediately noticed there were two major things missing. One of them being a booking system, and the second being a strong sense of community. Coming from a place that utilizes technology and systems heavily and seeing the benefit that comes from those, we needed it to flourish, to blend that tight-knit boutique feel into this larger space with more people. At the time, members would just simply show up into classes with no commitment. They were tracked on paper as numbers. Without data, we missed opportunities for efficiency and engagement. Digital booking system implementation changed the way that we approached group fitness. We could see who was going to classes and at what time, maybe what classes that they actually want at those times. They were not just faceless numbers in a class. They were people with meaningful data attached to them. With this system in place, we adjusted class sizes, we created capacities, and enhanced the overall member experience. Now, this is not new or novel to many of you in larger cities, or maybe it is. But if you aren't using your platforms to go above and beyond for your members to help increase that retention, this is where you're missing out. Now, how do you do it? That's by tracking milestones such as birthdays, maybe their first classes, their 10th classes, celebrate their successes. It changes the script from just another day in another workout to today is their 50th, today is their 100th class. What this does is it brings that commitment back in. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel connected, and they're going to keep coming back for more, and they're going to stay motivated on their fitness journey. This took us from 17% of group fitness check-ins to 19% out of our total one. Adding these online integrations can significantly enhance your group fitness management. What you measure is what you manage. If you want to get better at something, track it. Change the way that you look at your systems. Are you celebrating your members? Challenge yourselves. Look at what you have in place. Are you utilizing them? Are you tracking them? And what can you do to just be 1% better? I can't thank the Rex Roundtables enough for connecting all of us high-speed individuals together into one place. If you have any questions, please contact either myself or Eddie, and you can find those in the notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thanks so much.
Let's keep this conversation going. Join our thriving LinkedIn community where Shania will be there to answer any of your follow-up questions. Head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and click on the link to join our LinkedIn community, or simply search on LinkedIn, Fitness Business Podcast Community. So that's episode 5 done and dusted. Are you going to try and say yes and in your conversations at home and at work? Thanks to Eric from Selling Fitness and Mary from One Rule Improv to giving us new ways to communicate and close more sales. Thanks to Chris and Marissa from the Empower Group and Shania from the Group Fitness Managers Rex Roundtable for dropping by as well. All their details are in the show notes. As always, you've now got actionable steps to enhance your communication, your leadership, drive innovation, and boost your profits. And I'm eager to hear about your wins. So is everyone in the FBP community. So please join our LinkedIn community and share what you've been doing from our guests. Next episode is another panel chat with Anthony, Andrew, and Asha, the 3 A's. We're talking all things recovery, wet recovery, percussive therapy, and so much more. If you want to make the most of your recovery space, then you've just got to tune in 2 weeks. Your Fitness Business Podcast is more than me speaking into a microphone and you listening. We are building a community of owners and managers, team members, and entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. Come and join our community to hear exclusively about our future guests, ask past guest questions, and there are a few more surprises that we've got in store. So go to LinkedIn and search Fitness Business Podcast LinkedIn Community or swing over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and click on the community link. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.